Tonight, in a decision that will reverberate for generations, the Supreme Court has struck down all state and local gun permit requirements, sending shockwaves through the nation's legal and political systems. The ruling establishes a sweeping nationwide standard of permitless carry, meaning that, effective immediately, Americans in every state can legally carry firearms in public without the need for government approval or documentation. The 5-4 decision, delivered just hours ago, declares that the Second Amendment right to bear arms cannot be conditioned on government-issued licenses. The majority opinion argues that the Constitution protects an individual's right to self-defense, and that requiring permits infringes upon that fundamental liberty. The ruling has ignited both celebration and protest, instantly altering the legal landscape from New York City to rural America. Across the country, people are taking to the streets, some in triumph, others in fear, reflecting the deep divisions that have long defined the gun debate in the United States. For gun owners, it's a restoration of liberty, a long-awaited victory after years of legal battles and advocacy. Many see this as a return to the original intent of the Constitution and a powerful affirmation of individual rights. For gun control advocates, however, it's a devastating setback for public safety. They warn that removing permit requirements could lead to more violence, more accidents, and greater fear in communities already struggling with gun crime. The court's action erases a complex patchwork of state regulations, leaving a legal vacuum. Overnight, decades of local laws and restrictions have been swept away, and states are left scrambling to interpret what, if any, authority they retain. This is more than a legal change, it's a cultural flashpoint, forcing a national conversation about freedom, security, and the role of government. Town halls and community meetings are erupting with debate as neighbors and leaders grapple with what this new reality means for their safety and their rights. State leaders are scrambling to respond, urgently consulting with legal experts and law enforcement. Meanwhile, citizens are left to wonder what this means for daily life, how it will affect schools, businesses, and public spaces. The United States now faces uncharted territory, with the societal debate entering a new, more intense chapter. Newsrooms are flooded with questions, and headlines across the nation reflect the uncertainty and anxiety of this historic moment. Internationally, the decision is raising questions about American stability, and global perceptions of the U.S. allies and critics alike are watching closely, trying to understand the implications for American society and its place in the world. Foreign governments are issuing travel advisories, warning their citizens to exercise caution when traveling to the United States, citing concerns about increased gun presence and potential unrest. Global markets are reacting to fears of unrest and instability, with investors watching closely as the situation unfolds. The economic impact remains uncertain, but the initial response has been one of caution and concern. One thing is clear: nothing will be the same. The end of the gun permit era marks a turning point in American history, and the nation now stands at a crossroads, facing profound questions about its future. Gun permits have played a significant role in shaping American life for well over a century. What began as simple local ordinances gradually evolved into a complex patchwork of state licensing systems, each with its own rules and requirements. These regulations reflected changing attitudes about public safety, personal freedom, and the responsibilities of gun ownership, and they often mirrored the social and political climate of their times. The first major gun control law in the United States was New York's Sullivan Act of 1911. This landmark legislation required licenses for anyone wishing to carry a concealed handgun, setting a precedent for other states to follow. The law was controversial from the start, sparking debates about crime, self-defense, and government authority. For decades, these state and local laws coexisted with the Second Amendment, which guarantees the right to keep and bear arms. At the federal level, gun control was rarely challenged, and most regulation was left to the states. This uneasy balance persisted for much of the 20th century as Americans debated the meaning and limits of the Second Amendment. Everything changed in the 21st century, with two landmark Supreme Court cases. In 2008, the Heller decision affirmed, for the first time, that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess firearms at home for self-defense, not just as part of a militia. 2 years later, the McDonald decision extended that right to all states, making it clear that state and local governments were also bound by the Second Amendment. Yet, even after these rulings, it remained unclear whether the right to bear arms extended outside the home. This uncertainty allowed states to continue enforcing a wide variety of permit systems, each with different standards for issuing licenses to carry firearms in public. In 2022, the Supreme Court addressed this question in the Bruin decision. The court struck down New York's proper cause requirement for concealed carry permits, affirming that the right to carry firearms extends beyond the home. This decision marked a major shift in the legal landscape. However, the court also made it clear that states could still require objective, non-discretionary permit systems, so long as they did not impose subjective barriers to exercising a constitutional right. After Bruin, a wave of lawsuits swept across the country, challenging all remaining permit requirements. Plaintiffs argued that any form of licensing scheme, no matter how objective, infringed on the fundamental right to bear arms. The result was a fractured legal landscape. Conflicting rulings from lower courts created confusion and uncertainty as states, gun owners, and law enforcement struggled to interpret the new standards. With the nation divided and the stakes higher than ever, the Supreme Court was inevitably drawn back in to settle the constitutionality of gun permits once and for all. That pivotal moment has arrived today. The case that toppled America's gun permit systems was Heller vs. United States. Mark Heller, denied a carry license in Illinois due to a minor bureaucratic error, became the face of the challenge. His lawyers argued that even shall-issue systems could arbitrarily deny rights through red tape. Conflicting appellate court rulings forced the Supreme Court to intervene. In a narrow 5-4 decision, the court ruled that requiring a license to carry a firearm in public is an unconstitutional prior restraint on a fundamental right. The majority opinion, authored by Justice Clarence Thomas, allowed background checks at the point of sale but struck down permit requirements. The dissent warned of a dangerous new era of armed vigilantism. The decision, released today, has caught the nation by surprise. The Supreme Court's decision has thrown state governments into chaos. In states with permit laws, officials are scrambling to respond, while leaders in permitless states celebrate. California and New York vow to find new ways to protect public safety, exploring bans on guns in sensitive places. Texas, meanwhile, has declared January 1st Second Amendment Liberation Day and is dismantling permit systems. Police departments are issuing urgent new directives, unsure how to enforce the law. In Chicago, officers are told not to stop people solely for carrying a firearm. Gun shops in restrictive states are seeing a surge in customers, while protests erupt in cities like New York. The public reaction is immediate and deeply divided. The nation is grappling with a new and uncertain reality. The economic impact is immediate. Gun manufacturers and retailers are seeing record sales, with stock prices for major companies surging. Gun stores in formerly restrictive states report unprecedented demand. The firearms industry stands to gain billions, while tourism and hospitality sectors brace for uncertainty. Hotels and businesses are reviewing security policies, creating a patchwork of private rules. Insurance companies may raise premiums, and states face budget shortfalls from lost permit fees. A new market for voluntary firearm training and legal education is emerging. Private security firms anticipate growth as businesses seek extra protection. The economic landscape is shifting, with clear winners and losers. The ruling is reshaping American business in real time. The social impact is profound and immediate. In affected states, the sudden presence of openly carried firearms is changing daily life. Reports of confrontations and viral videos highlight rising tensions. Citizens and law enforcement must now adjust to seeing guns in public as legal. Business owners are forced to decide whether to allow firearms, creating a confusing patchwork of rules. National chains scramble to set policies, and lawsuits over property rights are expected. Every American now faces personal choices about safety and where they feel comfortable. The short-term effect is widespread unease and anxiety. Legal scholars are sharply divided. Some, like Professor Joseph Blocher, call the decision a radical break from history, predicting legal chaos over sensitive places. Others, like Professor David Kopel, hail it as a victory for liberty, arguing it empowers citizens and deters crime. Law enforcement officials warn the ruling will make policing more dangerous and complicated. The International Association of Chiefs of Police calls it a devastating blow to community safety. Criminologists and public health experts predict a rise in violent crime and accidental deaths. Dr. Garen Winnemute warns the nation is now conducting a massive, uncontrolled experiment. The stakes are high, with experts painting a future fraught with risk. The debate over the ruling's impact is just beginning. The ruling has instantly become the new epicenter of American politics, sending shockwaves through the nation's capital and far beyond. The atmosphere outside the Supreme Court is electric, with crowds gathering, news crews broadcasting live updates, and protesters making their voices heard. The decision has not only captured the attention of lawmakers, but also ignited passionate responses from citizens across the country. Democrats decry the decision as extreme, calling it a dangerous step backward for public safety. They are quick to launch campaigns for new federal gun regulations, vowing to fight back through legislation and public advocacy. Rallies and press conferences are held, with party leaders urging supporters to mobilize and make their voices count in upcoming elections. The president is set to address the nation, calling for urgent action to curb the ruling's effects. In a nationally televised speech, he emphasizes the need for unity and common-sense reforms, urging Congress to act swiftly. The administration signals its commitment to exploring every possible avenue to protect communities and prevent further violence. Meanwhile, Republicans celebrate the decision as a historic defense of constitutional rights, energizing their base and framing the ruling as a victory for individual liberty. At rallies and political events, supporters wave flags and cheer, seeing the decision as a reaffirmation of core American values. The political battle lines are drawn more sharply than ever, with little room for compromise. Lawmakers on both sides dig in, preparing for a prolonged and bitter fight over the future of gun laws in America. The halls of Congress echo with heated debate as each party seeks to rally public opinion to its side. The ruling reignites long-standing debates over Supreme Court reform, with activists and some lawmakers calling for expanding the bench or imposing term limits. Protests outside the court grow louder as demonstrators demand changes to the institution they see as out of step with public opinion. State-level politics will be fiercely contested as governors and legislators test the limits of new regulations. Local officials face intense pressure from constituents, and town hall meetings become battlegrounds for competing visions of public safety and constitutional rights. The Supreme Court may have intended to settle the issue, but instead, it has opened dozens of new political fronts. Newsrooms scramble to cover the rapidly evolving story as states and cities across the country grapple with the ruling's far-reaching consequences. The culture war over guns is entering a volatile new phase, with emotions running high and the nation more divided than ever. As activists on both sides take to the streets, the struggle over America's gun laws promises to shape the political landscape for years to come. As the sun sets on this historic day, America stands at a crossroads. The Supreme Court's decision has raised more questions than answers, launching a chaotic period of adjustment. New laws, lawsuits, and social changes are inevitable as the nation adapts to permitless carry. The long-term consequences, safer streets or more violence, remain unknown. The debate over guns is now a daily reality, shaping the character of the nation. The story is far from over, and your engagement will help determine what comes next. One thing is certain: America's debate over guns, freedom, and safety has entered a new and unpredictable chapter.